What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're continuing with our 32-team 7-round mock draft, and of the 24th of March. We're going to be talking about the team that holds the 18th overall pick in the first round, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. So before we jump into the mock draft, we need to take a look at what things happened in free agency to set up our draft boards. And when you look at free agency, you probably could come out on a limb and say no team has lost as much as the Seattle Seahawks have lost. So well, you know what they brought in? They're able to retain Bradley McDougall, which is good depth in case Cam Chancellor decides not to return, which would be another just lethal blow to the Legion of Boom and that defense that they had back there. McDougall, proven starter, had some good years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you got Delano Hill, who was a third-round pick. You got Thompson, who was like a fourth-round pick out of Colorado. There's some depth there at safety, but not proven depth, not guys that I feel like they'd be comfortable enough playing next year as a starter. And you also have some uncertainty with Earl Thomas. Is he going to remain on the roster? He's a guy that's already had one bad injury and contemplated retirement. The future is not, solid for Earl Thomas. He's still one of the best safeties in the game, but, you may want to start thinking about some safety spots. But McDougall's not bad, and they brought back Dion Jordan, who, bust, but got some good production last year. I think 4 or 5 sacks, something like that, and might have a chance to start opposed Frank Clark at the defensive end spots. And they also have a couple other low-key signings. Really looks like they're trying to just get all the busts from around the league and see if they can turn around. You got Barkevius Mingo, Luke Jokel, DJ Fluker, Dion Jordan, Marcus Smith. Just to name a couple at the top of my head. They might have a couple more on there. So we'll see if it, bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pans out for them. Look at what they lost. Richard Sherman. They cut Richard Sherman. He ended up going to the 49ers. It could be a long-term bamboozle if the Seahawks knew that Richard Sherman's not going to be the same type of player after that injury, or if they know that he's not, good outside their scheme. It could be the next Byron Maxwell. So there's something to watch there. But if things go right for the 49ers, the Seahawks lost, and a division rival got better. They lost Paul Richardson, their deep threat wide receiver. They're going to assume that Tyler Lockett could, kind of take over that role. But Richardson still was pretty damn productive. And they lost him to another NFC competition guy. You look competition guy. But you look at the Washington Redskins, you're probably going to say that, they can be competitive next year. And they could be fighting for the same cup of spot that the Seattle Seahawks are. And that's probably a wild card berth. So their competition in the NFC got better. They lost Jimmy Graham, which is pretty much a foregone conclusion, but they lost him to the Green Bay Packers, another team that the Seahawks are going to be trying to compete for a playoff spot. Their competition got better. They lost Sheldon Richardson, who they made it clear they wanted to try to re-sign. He said, nah, thanks. Don't want to be a part of a rebuild. Went to the Minnesota Vikings. So their competition got better. Oh, and then they lost Michael Bennett. Now, there's a little bit of uncertainty here with Michael Bennett and the whole off-the-field issue at the Texans Stadium, Super Bowl, and stuff like that, but it probably will be cleared. And they lost him to, just the Philadelphia Eagles. So another big dog in the NFC got better. Seems like the top big, did the Rams get anyone from the Seahawks that I'm missing out on? Because it looks like every other really good competitive team in the NFC got one of the Seahawks key starters from a year before. Yikes. But let's see if we can try to help them out as best we can with our mock draft. So jumping into the first round, pick 18. I was selecting offensive guard Will Hernandez from UTEP. Will the Seattle Seahawks finally draft a good offensive lineman early? It seems like they constantly just go, nah, we're going to wait. And you know what happens when you say, nah, I'm going to wait, is your offensive line is absolutely terrible. You have one of the worst rushing offenses in NFL history, and your incredibly talented quarterback is constantly running for his life on every single play and still is managing to maintain himself in the MVP talk. So for the love of God, now that you don't have the Legion of Boom to kind of help out Russell Wilson and bail him out when his offense goes straight out because he can't do it all himself, get him some protection. Thank you. Guy like Will Hernandez, second best offensive lineman in this year's draft class, obviously with Quentin Nelson, who'll probably be a top 8 pick. Already well off the board. Will Hernandez is a home run pick. He can walk in, play left guard. Even with DJ Fluker, walk in, play right guard. Whatever side he wants to play on, it's his job for the taking, and that's why this is the best pick available here for the Seattle Seahawks at pick number 18. Originally was going to be Derwin James. I think Derwin James would be, almost a like-for-like replacement for Cam Chancellor, because it does look like Cam Chancellor's probably not going to play football. I mean, things could change. I hope he does. He's definitely one of my, as a Eagle fan that hates playing the Seahawks and hate playing the Seahawks in general and like Madden and stuff like that, big fan of Cam Chancellor. Would love to see him come back, but it looks uncertain a little bit. So, with the safety off the board, just go with the best player available. And it also just becomes a massive need in getting Will Hernandez. Going to help out Russell Wilson and going to drastically help out the run game. Going to the 4th round. Yikes. Why don't they have a 2nd or 3rd round pick? I didn't look into it, but for a team that is kind of rebuilding, not having a 2nd and 3rd round pick kind of sucks. I mean, if you're a big fan of comp picks, it looks like the Seattle Seahawks probably will get some of the top comp picks in the 2019 draft, but that's a year away, and they look like they want to try to compete this year. But anyways, moving to the 4th round pick, 120, we have going with cornerback TARVARUS McFadden from Florida State. I think when you look at their secondary right now, if they re-signed Byron Maxwell, it might be, he actually didn't look terrible for them last year, so him and Shaq Griffin with Justin Coleman in the slot is not nearly as good as it once was, but that could be capable. And then you bring in a guy like TARVARUS McFadden, who has excellent ball playing skills. Not so much, had kind of a down year in 2017, but in 2016 he led the college football league, NCAA, what do you call it? FBS interceptions. He had 8 picks. He was an excellent ball hawk at Florida State. And what makes him, I think, a fit is because when you look at Richard Sherman was a ball hawk that was not necessarily fast. And you look at TARVARUS McFadden, not as big as Richard Sherman, but pretty close. Ball hawk, not really that fast. So I think that, from a scheme standpoint, I think a guy like TARVARUS McFadden, who's very, very productive, had a little bit of a down year trying to find the right type of scheme. I think Seattle would be able to get the most out of him, and kind of is a little bit of a replacement for what they had in Richard Sherman on that defense. I think that's a very nice pick there in the 4th round. Going to the 5th round, where they have 4 5th-round picks. First up at 141, I was selecting linebacker Garrett Avery from Memphis. I think he comes in as inside linebacker number 2 behind Bobby Wagner. As a good yin to Bobby Wagner's yang. I mean, Bobby Wagner is probably one of the most complete linebackers in football. It's probably 2nd best linebacker after Luke Kuechly, in my opinion. Could be a little bit of hot take for you Seahawks fans watching. I'm going to say that on his day, it's interchangeable. They're both just exceptional, top-of-the-line linebackers. But if you had to pigeonhole Bobby Wagner, you'd say he's the more speedy, undersized cover guy. So a guy like Garrett Avery, who's your old-school build, 250-pound, run-stopping mauler, is a good compliment to have there for Bobby Wagner. On clear running situations, you pop in Avery in there, and you make teams afraid to run up the middle. Easy pick, and they need more depth behind Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner went down, don't have a lot of depth. I don't know who would take over him. Maybe you could slide KJ right in to start inside, and then you're really strained at other positions. So I think a guy like Garrett Avery, linebacking depth would be a nice pick here for the Seattle Seahawks. Going to their 2nd 5th-round pick, 146, I was selecting running back Bo Scarborough from Alabama. Looking at the roster right now, I don't know who the starter at running back is going to be. Chris Carson looked nice before he went down with injury. You have CJ Prosise, who's going to probably be the receiving back. Mike Davis, Eddie Lacy. I mean, there's no one really here. So I think a guy like Bo Scarborough, who's pretty much mini Derrick Henry, would be a great fit for the Seattle Seahawks. Now you look at Derrick Henry. He's not as athletic, not as explosive as Derrick Henry, but they're still kind of similar, pretty close. And, Derrick Henry is the guy that sent DeMarco Murray packing out of town in Tennessee. Derrick Henry is looking at like he could be, top 8 running back next year in terms of stats. So Seattle Seahawks, nowhere near a guy running back that's even like top 20. I think if you look at like Pro Football Focus, they didn't have a running back like the top 30, which is embarrassing if you're a team as good as Seattle. So I think a guy like Bo Scarborough, looking at the roster, we're going to assume Chris Carson could be their starter. Bo Scarborough can come in as running back 2, where you still have CJ Prosise being the receiving back. But Bo Scarborough does have the potential, with the uncertainty at the running back spot on the depth chart for Seattle, to be the starter and being able to land a potential starter day 1 as a rookie in the 5th round. If you're the Seattle Seahawks that are missing a 2nd and 3rd round pick, you got to take that gamble, and Bo Scarborough would be a much-needed power back. Guy that can just help try to complement and take some of the pressure off Russell Wilson, I believe, for the Seattle Seahawks. Going to their 3rd 5th-round pick, 156, I was expecting edge, outside linebacker, whatever. You find a spot for him. Ogbonnia Okoronkwo from Oklahoma. I think he'd probably be defensive end 3 and challenge with Deion Jordan for snaps opposed to Frank Clark. But also, if you have Barkevious Mingo there as an outside linebacker and you want that guy that's just your pure edge rusher, because Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright could hold down the fort in coverage and cover those tight ends and running backs, he could play that as well. I think when you look at Okoronkwo, just relentless edge rusher, a little slightly undersized for the next level, but his combine was pretty good. Wasn't exceptional, but was pretty good. Showed that he was a pretty good athlete, but it's more so his work ethic, his football IQ. Very, very aggressive. I think he's a perfect fit here for the Seattle Seahawks defense. And like I said, again, another 5th-round pick, much like Bo Scarborough, that you draft as assumed depth, but they both have the readiness to maybe be a starter as a rookie. Landing for 2 potential starters in the 5th round would be home runs for the Seattle Seahawks. Home runs for any team, but in particular Seattle, because they lack those early picks, day 2 picks. And going to the last 5th-round pick, 168, I was expecting wide receiver Alan Lazard from Iowa State. Pretty much, like, again, if you see my mock drafts, you've watched them before, I try to look for compliments. Alan Lazard is the perfect compliment for what the Seattle Seahawks currently have at wide receiver. You have Doug Baldwin, you have Tyler Lockett. You have Tyler Lockett. Again, I'm on the French tip here because we did I just recorded the Chargers and they had Corey Luget Luget, so Lockett is Lockett, and whatever. Moving on, Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett would be, you have Lockett who can play a little bit outside, kind of replicate what they lost in Paul Richardson, but it looks like they might try to have Lockett play slot. So then you have Doug Baldwin, who's, proven top 10 wide receiver, fringe top 10 wide receiver, whatever you want to say there. Who else is going to be the comment there? You have Doug Baldwin, medium size. You Lockett, very undersized. You brought in Jerron Brown, You have Amara Darbrough, a 3rd-round pick from 2017, little bit bigger. But get a guy like Alan Lazard that's 6'4", 225 pounds. Not only does he add the perfect complement to what you have at wideout, but he helps kind of replace what you lost in Jimmy Graham for that just massive red zone target. You have Nick Vannett, Ed Dickson as the tight ends right now for the Seattle Seahawks. Not a lot of proven chemistry there. It looks like it's going to be a fresh slate, so why not give Russell Wilson as many options as possible to find his next go-to red zone target? I think a guy like Alan Lazard not only will fill that, but he's also a perfect complement to what they currently have at wideout. Again, money 5th round. Best 5th round possible. I dare you to try to find a better 5th round mock draft anywhere else. That's very high of myself. Moving on to the 7th round, where they have 2 7th-round picks to close out the draft. First up at 226, I was selecting offensive tackle Matt Pryor from TCU. A lot of scouts are really high on him. I saw his tape. He just looked kind of average, and he didn't go to the combine, so I don't know what his numbers are, and I didn't see any stats yet from the TCU Pro Day. But, I'm taking other people's words than mine. He never looked bad. He's one of those tackles that's big. So it kind of looks like, you want to pigeonhole him at a right tackle spot, which is definitely, when you look at just tackle depth on Seattle in general, not the best. Could definitely use more tackle depth. But he seems like he's more so one of those tackles that his name doesn't get called. And that's a good thing when you have an offensive tackle. It would be nice to say, wow, what a block from, right tackle Lane Johnson or stuff like that. Oh, that was a pancake. Look at that lead block. That'd be nice, but those are the kind of tackles that get drafted 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. You should get the tackles that play on competitive teams that are constantly in the playoff fight and play strong competition, go up against a lot of NFL competition throughout their college career, and then you just don't hear their name called. It means they're not messing up. So that's kind of what you're getting here with Matt Pryor. Seems like from a lot of scouting reports, they believe that he has a very high ceiling. So like I said, has the size to play left or right tackle. It would be really nice tackle depth here for Seattle, who needs to just get better in general on the offensive line. And then finishing up here in the 7th round, 248, I'm landing defensive tackle Eddie Wilson from Purdue. When you look at the Seattle Seahawks defensive line, they get some young guys that are trying to make plays. Jerron Reed, 2nd-round pick. Malik McDowell, 2nd-round pick. Nizair Jones, 3rd-round pick. That's it, though. They have no depth behind that. And with Malik McDowell, who's I don't know how much he actually played last year, because I know he had an ATV accident. He might not have played any, but I know I'm thinking just straight draft mode. Pretty goddamn impressive coming out of Michigan State. Really good athlete. Had some questionable interviews, to say the least. Seems like a colorful personality. But, Jaron Reed was an excellent value pick in 2016 in the 2nd round. A lot of people consider him a 1st-round pick. Nizair Jones is good against the run. But to add some depth like here in Eddie Wilson, who had a really good combine. If you ever looked at his spider chart, which if you don't know what that is, Google it. He is one of the better ones in this year's draft class. Still sitting there in the 7th round. Seems like that's a great pick for the Seattle Seahawks to add some defensive tackle depth and get a guy that for sure will crack the final 53. So there you go, guys. That is my Seattle Seahawks mock draft. Yeah, lots to talk about here. So if you have your own Seattle Seahawks mock draft, you want to post in the comment section below to line ours up and compare side by side, you can do that. If you agree or disagree with any of the picks here, let me know. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.